Good afternoon. Welcome to our webinar this afternoon, which is all about the many hats of your business finance function. And we're talking here particularly about outsourcing and about making tax digital and its role in that. I'm delighted to be joined by Mahesh, delivering the presentation. Welcome to you. We will have some time at the end for any Q&As if you have any questions. So use the Q&A option on your toolbar to put those forward to us, and we'll get to as many of them as we can. But without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Mahesh. Over to you.
Thank you, Jo. Thanks for the introduction. Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're all well. Right, we're going to look at the outsourced finance function. I'm also going to discuss a real life example at the end, which is not on this slide, so you won't see this on the slides. But then let's just go through the slides for now. We'll have a discussion surrounding kind of the outsourced function, and then we can, as I said, I've got a few clients where we've taken on, we've onboarded them, existing clients where they've kind of outsourced a function. And one specifically I'll discuss with you in detail. The individual maybe on this, looking at this, watching this webinar, so I know exactly who I'm talking about, but let's crack on. Okay, so the many hats of your business finance function. Is it really a distraction or a solution? A lot of FDs, owners of businesses, you know, they're wearing various hats, you know, whether it's a financial insight, whether they're looking at financial control, you know, bookkeeping, costs, credit control. There's various aspects, various hats that they normally wear, and you can't be, you know, exceptional at everything. And I think I think we all know that. And as accountants, we try to take that burden off our clients. Just moving on to the next slide. Why do businesses outsource the finance functions? There's a number of reasons why businesses outsource finance functions, and as you can see from the slide, the majority of them to do better business controls. Just further down, we've got support, reducing costs, recruiting and retention. I think recruiting and retention, although it's showing about 6–7%, where I've dealt with, I mean, this is a personal viewpoint where I have my clients and dealt with my clients. I think that's probably more 20–25%. But there's a number of factors. You know, as accountants and bookkeepers, you know, we are at the forefront of technology. So if there's any new making tax digital technology, any other app stacks, etc., that come out, we're probably one of the first to know. And when we're dealing with, you know, numerous clients, hundreds of clients, we get to see and we get to know, you know, what the issues are, and we try to, you know, solve those as appropriate. Just onto the next slide. Again, just on the same subject, why people outsource, or why do business outsource functions. They have a fear of losing control, achieving return on investment that justifies the transition risks. You know, I think the next one's critical. You've got to trust somebody. If you don't trust somebody, you know, with the data, it becomes pointless to a certain extent. And HR's, you know, we've got the HR and the HR impacts, and, you know, the employment costs of having somebody on board, and if, you know, they're not the right fit, how do you get rid of them, and the appropriate, you know, legal surrounding that. Just on to the next slide. Is it a distraction or a solution? I think in the main, if people, you know, individuals, companies are going to outsource, it has to be for the right reasons. And it has to be a solution. I think initially some people may think, well, you know, we'd rather have somebody in-house so we can call on them as and when we want. You know, they're in the office, we can say we want this straight away and they can do it. But that's no different to, you know, picking up the phone, jumping onto Teams or Zoom, and speaking to your outsourced provider. Now, in terms of, you know, you can see from the PowerPoint slide there, in terms of, you know, the biggest one is labour costs. And I found that with my clients at the same time. And again, I've got an example which I'll discuss with you shortly. But there's a number of reasons why people do it. Just on to the next slide. The main reasons, the primary reasons why people outsource: reduce costs. Yes. You know, if you are employing somebody as a bookkeeper, as a financial controller, as a financial director, You've got the employment costs, you've got the national insurance costs. You know, if you're outsourcing to an accountant or, you know, whoever you're outsourcing to, you don't have those additional costs. And moreover, you know, you don't have to give the 4-week statutory holidays, the bank holidays. You're only charged for, you know, the hours that we work for you. Reduce mistakes is another critical one, again, where you've got the Making Tax digital software, which can highlight to you errors. Again, you know, within the bookkeeping department, within the accounts department, we have people, individuals, colleagues who are, they're specialists in what they do. So they know, you know, what needs to be done. And if there are errors, we can pick those up quite easily. Reduce employment liability, no holidays or sick days. I think I've just touched on that, so we'll move on. Better use of directors' time to focus on the business. For me, that's a critical one. I've seen time and time again that, you know, directors are trying to wear a number of hats and they're always firefighting. And the one thing we try to do is assist in that process. And, you know, we don't want directors of companies, you know, getting involved in the nitty gritty. And, you know, if they have to get involved with the financials, that means they're not concentrating on the business in terms of streamlining the business. Yeah, looking at efficiencies and looking at growing their business more importantly. Compliance, peace of mind. Again, as accountants, you know, we're very well versed with the legislation. We know, you know, when the deadlines are, we try and keep to those deadlines where we possibly can. And so directors of companies don't need to worry about that. Better business decisions, again, with my example, I'll discuss that in more detail. But I think that's more to do with timely information. Sometimes where you've got an FC and FD where they're being pulled in all directions, they find it difficult to sometimes give timely information. And that timely information is critical to make business decisions sometimes. Next slide, please. The role of an outsourced financial director. I mean, a financial director brings financial leadership to a business in the main. In effect, they're responsible for the overall financial health of the business, and they support the business owner and other directors with, you know, so there's a solid foundation for the business to grow. Not only that, they also provide strategic and financial guidance along with sound financial management and control. And again, that comes back to the last slide we were discussing in terms of if it's timely, it's fine. If it's untimely, then things can go wrong. Most importantly, in that aspect, we're able to present and explain the financials of the business in a way that's easy to understand for non-accountants to digest. You know, with our clients, we have a spectrum of clients at all different levels, and we try to give the information and discuss the information and ask them what they're looking for from the information. And, you know, whether it's management reports, whether it's sales reports, try and give in a meaningful manner what they're looking for. There's no point us saying, okay, well, this is what we've done for you, here you go. We try to, from the outset, understand what they want, what's important to them in the financials, what are they looking for, and try and tailor the reports to exactly what the client's looking for. Next slide, please. What are the advantages for the day-to-day running? I mean, firstly, there's the statutory duties, which I've touched on before, ensuring the submission of VAT returns, you know, corporation tax deadlines, and the financial statement deadlines for companies have. Secondly, an FD will manage all aspects of the business financials, not just in the accounting systems, but throughout all procedures that feed into the accounts. Generally, a good FD will ensure there's sound financial controls in place, which protect the business from fraud, theft, wastage, financial penalties, chasing debtors, overpayments to suppliers, etc. And I think thirdly, an FD will ensure that the business has the information it needs, timely, accurate, dependable, exactly what I've just touched on previously. As you all know, profit's one thing, cash is king. And having good credit control and ensuring profitability is maintained and forecasting cash flow, they're essential aspects to a business's survival. So an FD undertakes the cash flow management of the business really in the in day-to-day running. Next slide, please. A lot of clients have the fear of losing control. And I think that's normal. You know, the human nature is normal. People like to have control. They like to know what's happening. In essence, by outsourcing the finance function, it gives you more time. And that really means more time that you, the directors, the owners of the business, can spend doing what they're good at, which is running your business. That's why you set the business up. You've got a business because, you know, you are running a business and you've got a good product. You maybe have a niche product. Too often I see business owners, especially of smaller businesses, who try to do everything and not delegate. And delegate is key. Delegation is key. It really is. And what generally happens is they end up burning through long hours or losing sight of the businesses or the important things that they should be concentrating on. You'll be putting governance of your finances into the hands of a professional, and a good FD will collaborate with you, your teams, your stakeholders, keeping you informed about the financial status of the businesses, and not only giving advice, but identifying risks and also opportunities at the same time. Next slide, please. Make sure, yeah, I've lost where I am, but that's fine. Can an FD provide a different perspective of a business? Many business owners ask, why do I need a financial director when they already have a bookkeeper and or an accountant? While these are must-have rules to ensure the nuts and bolts tasks of finance are undertaken, the bookkeeper and accountant are just processing. They don't have the time or the necessary knowledge necessarily and experience to provide you with that advice. But it's far more than accounting advice. An FD will be able to look at the business data and not only explain what the figures say about the business and its financial health, but also guidance so that the business can make the right decisions as a result of those. An experienced FD will generally take time to understand your business. They'll be able to extrapolate the data and present financial data in an easy to digest form so the business doesn't get bogged down in the detail really. Next slide, please. Step back and reflect. I think in terms of, you know, the outsourcing FD function, things to just think about, you know, are you getting the information you need? Are you getting the right financial data? Are you getting it in a timely manner? Does your business have a financial strategy? What are you looking for? Do you have pricing structures and sound financial procedures and controls? Is your business profitable? If it's not, why not? Is that profitability being maximized? If the answer is no to one or more of these, you need the support of a professional FD. Let's move on to talking about cloud systems and app stacks and how the implementation of some of these can contribute to the financial management of your business, whether you think you need a virtual FD or not. And investing in tech. There's I mean, up until a couple of years ago, there were probably hundreds, but now there's thousands of app stacks. And I think that on any day at the moment, there's probably another 100 app stacks, you know, on the market. So what you don't want to do is be bombarded with lots of app stacks that link into your software in a sense. Your systems and processes are the framework of your business, and they've become more efficient with the use of technology. Technology won't make bad systems better, though, so having the right systems and processes comes first. Then the tech, you get the tech to fit around that software. Generally, investment in technology should pay off, but you do need to do the maths to see what your expected gains will be. I mean, as accountants, there's a number of softwares we use, software providers, and we're always meeting with new software providers. And if we, you know, took on every single app stack and software that was out there, we'd have 1,000 different softwares talking to each other. But we try to just streamline it. So we look at our clients, we look at what they want, what they need, more importantly. And in terms of the software app stacks that we use, we try to kind of bolt those on, which, you know, only the ones which really benefit our clients. The latest accounting solutions can save you hours, time and money, as well as automate the mundane tasks and help you chase down late paying customers. I mean, all of this results in time saving to yourself. Just moving on to the next slide. Choosing the right technology. Really, it's down to the business. I mean, I have a number of clients when we first implemented Making Tax Digital. There's, I mean, just to mention a few, there's Xero out there, there's QuickBooks, there's Free Agent, there's Cashflow. There's a number of software providers out there, and it's really down to you. We did a beauty parade probably about 5-6 years ago now with all the big software providers, and our preferred software provider that we use is Xero Accounting, which we find is not compared to QuickBooks, for example. They're the two big ones, Xero and QuickBooks. QuickBooks is probably better to look at, we found, but in terms of functionality, we felt Xero was the one for us. But notwithstanding that, we have a number of clients who are on QuickBooks, and we do use QuickBooks, and we can use QuickBooks. But I think, again, when you're looking at software providers, and especially Making Tax Digital, what you need to think about is, what are you looking for as this software? What are the benefits of each software? Next slide, please. We have a number of digital gurus within the team here, especially within our VAT and bookkeeping department. So they're kind of experts in their right. A lot of these accountant and cloud providers, software providers, they tend to have a lot of how do you call it? A lot of support, online support. So webinars, you click through. But sometimes what we've found is clients find it difficult. They want to speak to somebody. So we have a number of individuals within the practice who specialize in QuickBooks, who specialize in Xero, for example. And we say to our clients, look, if you want the information, or you're struggling, just pick up the phone, give us a call, and we'll run through it with you. And we'll jump on a Zoom call, as we're doing now, or we'll jump on a Teams call. We'll share our screens, and we'll run through that process with them. So they don't need to go on to customer support and go through the entire webinar. Next slide, please. The Making Tax Digital roadmap. Now, thousands of businesses have already, as a result of Making Tax Digital for VAT, have already jumped into the quarterly accounting and submitting quarterly reporting along the lines of Making Tax Digital. But moving forward, there are some huge changes, especially from 2023 onwards, which is going to target all of those self-employed people, anybody submitting self-assessment returns, partnerships, as well as individuals who submit self-assessment returns where they just have property income and nothing else. So there are some huge changes down the line, and you just need to be aware of those. It's better to act sooner rather than later, and we found that when Making Tax Digital came in. So we started onboarding our clients onto Xero probably a couple of years beforehand, before we needed to, so we could iron out any difficulties, which actually worked quite well, and we're quite pleased with that process. My advice to anybody is act sooner rather than later. Don't leave it till the last minute. Keep an eye on those dates. There's a HMRC website which is quite good in terms of the implementation of Making Tax Digital, but really do look at it sooner rather than later. I think the next slide, if I'm not mistaken, is questions and answers. Just before I give you an opportunity to ask your questions and obviously respond with answers, just like I said from the start. I had one of my clients, its turnover was about £5-6 million. A number of years ago, he was struggling. So he ultimately had 3 financial controllers. But what he was struggling with was trying to get timely information. He was looking at his sales targets, and he wanted management accounts quite rapidly. And he wasn't getting his quarterly accounts until about 6 months after the quarter. And that becomes very, very difficult in making decisions in terms of who the best performers are, where the cost is. And he really struggled. And not only with that, he had, with a couple of the FCs, he had a couple of run-ins with them. And again, he was paying thousands, well not thousands, tens of thousands of pounds in recruitment costs, only to have them around for 6 months and they weren't the right individual, and they had to leave. So it became quite a frustrating process for him. And we spoke about what we could do, and what we needed, what kind of support we needed in-house. And now we provide monthly management accounts to him about a week or two after the end of the month. And he's extremely happy with it. And when we speak about it, we have a joke and a laugh about it now. How he used to monitor his business previously compared to now. And he's, I have to say, he's absolutely over the moon. And that's really, we're not doing anything different than an FD, an internal FD should be doing. But I think the problem is they get, as an owner of the business, they pull the FDs to different directions, and to concentrate on the financials, which is what we do. It goes to the back of the queue to a certain extent. But yes, but he's very happy. That was just a short example I thought I'd share with you. And now I guess it's on to the question and answer session.
Yeah, thanks very much, Mahesh. Well, that was great, thank you. And we've got a couple of questions here just to ask you, mainly in relation to making tax digital, actually. Do you have advice for a business on the best software to choose for making tax digital compliance?
I think throughout the webinar, I have mentioned Xero. I mean, we did, as I said, a beauty parade a number of years ago now, and we looked at the products. And they're all improving, by the way. So although we selected Xero at the time, Xero has moved on a lot from when we first implemented it. Now, most of our clients, we will say, look, we work with Xero a lot. We do a lot on Xero. We know Xero very, very well, but we can work with any real making tax digital software. My viewpoint is, and our viewpoint as a practice is Xero works very well, and that's the one that we would recommend. However, it's really what the client's looking for. And if, I've got clients who do like QuickBooks, and we work with QuickBooks, and it's absolutely fine. But we find Xero is more. I had a client who was actually on QuickBooks, and we actually told them that Xero is a better accounting software. Quite a large client, a multinational client, and they were on QuickBooks for a year, and they themselves decided to transfer over to Xero. So, I mean, our advice is Xero, but again, we can work with any financial product. So if there's a preference, we can work with that product.
Okay, and just following on from that, the question is, how easy is it to switch over from an existing, I guess, legacy system to a cloud-based accounting system?
If you're trying to do it yourself, it will be difficult. There's no two ways about it. It will be difficult. It has been difficult for some clients. If we were involved in that process, it becomes a relatively easy process because there's things that we can do in the background in terms of import of data, which some clients may be able to do. So when we transfer the data over from legacy systems to cloud-based systems, again, it comes with, because we've transferred so many clients, we know the best way to deal with it. But if you're doing it yourself, you may find it difficult, but again, we can help you do that. But now for us, it's seamless. If I go back 3, 4 years, 5 years, a little bit more difficult, but it can be done. And yeah, we can help in that process. I mean, even if it's the case you don't want us to do it, you've got the bookkeeping in-house yourself. We can just help with that transition if that's what you're looking for as well.
Okay. All right, well, thanks very much, Mahesh. Very informative. That brings us to the end of our webinar. We will make a recorded version of this available on the website later on today. And of course, if you want to get in touch with Mahesh to discuss this further, then you can do so through the website and email him directly, or of course, come to anybody at the info@RDP. Thanks again, and I look forward to our next one.